of wanted to talk about it. There is a collective, or was a collective of leakers called the Fulcrum Collective. Now we know that Fulcrum is Ahsoka's code name. Fulcrum Collective was actually leaking stuff about the Acolyte, and they just decided to take their toys and go home. Okay, they quit. They broke up their little gang, and one of them said, "Well, we were just finished, so we're done." Now, the reason why this interests me, there's several reasons, but the reason why this interests me is it was about the Acolyte. Okay, hey David. Now, there's a group of us who are pretty knowledgeable, I think. Me, Cameron, Valiant Renegade, I think Mike, Kenul, who don't think the Acolyte will ever see the light of day. Now, Bespin Bulletin was saying that they were already building sets, but again, until cameras start rolling, that doesn't really matter. Hey Mike, how you doing? We know that Disney and Bob Chapek are very, very eager when they have to pull the plug on a production on the day it's supposed to start principal photography. So, look, this is all speculation, okay, and on anybody's part. My wonder is, first off, if you're doing a job like this, you're leaking stuff, and you're getting it out there, why would you quit unless you were asked to? Why would you quit? Okay. You know, it's very interesting to me. Thinking about it, because then Eckhart's Ladder says he knows someone who leaked out the full plot of The Rise of Skywalker, who was contacted by one of Disney's lawyers, asking him who told him what happened. We all know who that was. That was Jason Ward. Okay, we all know that. Okay, he's the one. I don't think anybody else had that information. Okay, so we know it was him that was contacted. All right. My thing is, I don't necessarily know if they're cracking down on leakers per se, because to me it looks like it depends on the project. Like, look, we've heard nothing about what Mandalorian 3 is going to be like. At least I haven't. We don't know anything about Ahsoka. And I really didn't give pardon my French, a flying fuck about whatever, weed smoking weird shit they were going to have in The Rise of the Acolyte, because I ain't going to watch it. My feeling is, again, why take your toys and go home? All right. Well, we were just done. No, you weren't. Look, nobody in this industry, and YouTube is an industry, packs their shit and goes home. Unless there's a very good reason. All right. Let's come up with some very good reasons. Someone got sick. Someone got married. Someone got a real job and they couldn't keep it together. Or Disney did say, stop it. Now, why would Disney say stop it? So let's go into that. They don't want the plot getting out before the show shows up. Like anybody's gonna watch it or care. Or they don't want people leaking stuff out of a show that's never gonna get aired. Or they want to keep the reins down on this because it's never going to reach principal photography. There's all kinds of things that I think would make cause Disney to say, stop it. And that's what I think happened. And I don't think it's necessarily, ooh, they're making this show and everyone's going to watch it. No, I think it is something more of, the show's not going to happen. Now, they wouldn't tell the people that were leaking this stuff. But in my opinion, because they sure as hell weren't excited about The Rise of Skywalker getting leaked out there until at the after the effect, okay? My thing is the show's not going to happen, and that's why, okay? My thing is, I'm, look, if you look at the Disney D23 poster, there's nothing about the Acolyte on it. You have Ahsoka's sign, her emblem. You've got Indiana Jones. You've got the Slave One. You've got an X-Wing fighter, which to me means Luke Skywalker. And you've got the Mandalorian for Star Wars. That's it. There is nothing else, okay? We don't, dog, we don't really have much else to go on beyond that. Again, listen to the rumors, take them into consideration, but what do we know, okay? And what we know in D23 is there's nothing about the Acolyte on there, okay? Now, there could be something about Rogue Squadron. That X-Wing fighter could mean Rogue Squadron. Or it could just mean something with the Republic, okay? We don't know. Why? Because regardless if it's on IMDb, every feature film for Star Wars is in limbo right now. Doesn't mean they won't be made, but there you go. It's not like these feature films have somebody like Harrison Ford, as the star, who can actually say, we got to get this thing going, okay? To me, it's very interesting watching all this and seeing this all come along. And now we've got leakers I'm going to say this, hey, Ragther, we got leakers who've caused an inordinate amount of trouble to start, taking down their tents and leaving. Okay. And they were leaking things about a show no one cares about. What I think, this is what I think. I think Leslie Headland is spending money. And it's, that's what she's doing. You don't really see Disney announcing any of this stuff. And I think Jonathan's right. Again, what do we know? We know Peter Rice was fired. Big fucking deal. BFD. Why? Because it affects every part of Disney. Okay? All right? That was... when it happened, I literally dropped my toothbrush out of my hand. I was brushing my teeth and I went, holy shit. Then, regardless of what we knew, and we didn't, we were speculating, that the Kenobi numbers came in, and they were bad, despite the show being good. Now, if you guys watched my show about the retcon to the sequel trilogy, there was a retcon in that. Big time. Too many people who didn't want to watch the show because they saw Kennedy's name on there, who stupidly thought Kenobi was cucked. Like, the fuck are you talking about? I mean, are you smoking something? There's no cucking involved. Or thought Luke was, what was the retcon? What does Tala say to Ben Kenobi? What is her explanation for joining the rebellion? Put a 1 in the chat if you know what it was. Because I'll tell you right now. She told him she went on a mission. They gathered a bunch of families with Force-sensitive children. And, she said she didn't know what happened to them, but genocide commenced. The sequel trilogy democratized the Force. Anybody could be a fucking Jedi. Kenobi erased that the moment she said Force-sensitive children. Was it Ice-T's kid, or whoever he was, basically tells Kenobi, I knew what my wife was. I still married her. All right, now why, if anybody could be a Jedi, why would he say that? Okay. The reason why they democratize the Force in the sequel trilogy is to basically equitize it. Now there's Force equity. I can be a Jedi. You can be a Jedi. My Android phone could be a Jedi. All right. That's not how it works, and it never worked like that until Kathy Kennedy and her dipshits attacked it. Hey, Dave. And Kenobi brings the lore back to where George had it. Okay. It doesn't mean if you're not a Jedi, you're not cool, or you're not you're not equal. You're just not a Jedi. Okay. And the thing about Force equity is it took away the midichlorians. Now, you might hate the prequel trilogy because of that. If you're a spiritual person, I'll give you a little example. If I go on Friday nights to adoration of the Eucharist, which is, any Catholics out there know what a monstrance is. They take this thing out, and it's got the Eucharist, the body of Christ, in the middle of it. Okay, with all these things around it. They can be real. These monstrances can be really beautiful, and you go there, and you get on your knees, and you let go. You let go, and pray. If you're wearing a Fitbit or a iWatch, take a look at your heart rate. When I go to do that, my heart rate goes down to about 65 beats per minute. Okay. So the idea that the spirituality of something isn't part of your physiology is just, it is Frankfurt School left-wing bullshit. Okay. And these are people who tell you to go meditate. I mean, it's like, all right, stress. Your dad has high blood pressure. Doctor tells him you need to stop worrying and you need to slow down. What's the first thing he said? Worrying? What does that do? It makes you anxious. What happens? That affects your physical body. Okay? So emotions, your spirituality, your faith or whatever is part of your physical well-being. Hence, why do you think George came up with midichlorians? So, in essence, J.J. Abrams, hating midichlorians, said, oh no, we're not going to do that. Democratize the Force, which is what that led to. Which is what led to a lot of people going, the sequel trilogy is shit. And it also gutted the Skywalker saga. There's no longer anything special about being Anakin Skywalker's kids. Or the Chosen One. Because anybody can be the Chosen One. Doesn't work, does it? Doesn't sound as cool, does it, when anybody can do it? All right. And again, I'm not saying that people who aren't Jedis or aren't Skywalkers aren't worthwhile, okay? What I'm saying is that Jedis were given a gift. They're basically blessed with more of what melds their physiology to the other realm. You understand? I mean, I could talk about Padre Pio, all right? And the fact that he could be in two places at once, all kinds of stuff going on, all right? And yeah, I believe that happened. I believe that he could do that, all right? Doesn't mean anything other than God chose him for something. So he gave him something more. But maybe he gave you or me something more than what Padre Pio had in certain places. There you go. Think about it. So in democratizing the Force, they basically gutted what Star Wars is. Okay? And Kenobi brought it back. Okay, Kenobi basically realigned the Force and where it was supposed to be. Okay. And it didn't occur to me. I mean, I talked to Cameron about this, but it didn't occur to me. I think I read something on Twitter and went, oh my God, this is a retcon. And it is. I mean, that is a retcon. Okay. One of several probably coming. But back to the leakers. See, in my opinion, it wouldn't surprise me because of what's going on with Lucasfilm right now that Disney told people who are leaking about the Acolyte to shut the fuck up. Okay. Now, again, when Eckhart's Ladder basically explained that they knew somebody who had been contacted by Disney lawyers, and this person that they know leaked the entire plot for The Rise of Skywalker, and they wanted to know who leaked it. That's Jason Ward. So, is Disney clamping down? Yeah. And also, I think the shows that aren't mentioned, that haven't had any leaks, I haven't heard anything from Ahsoka. I've heard nothing from about Mando 3 or even Andor, that the people who would likely leak are either gone or are scared to say anything. All right. But as far as the Acolyte, going straight to the Fulcrum Collective tells me, because I don't believe they just pulled their tents down and left. I do believe Disney said, hey, no more, no more. And I think the reason why is simply because that show's probably not really going to happen. Okay. And look, if you can make sound stages and art and things like that for a Star Wars show, does it necessarily have to be for that show? Think about it. Anyway, let's go into Indy 5 news. So last night, John Williams debuted Helenas theme from Indy 5. And apparently, I'm going to say this is speculative because the list has not, the character list has not come out. And the character list and who's playing them, I'm going to speculate that that's Phoebe Waller-Bridge. And that bothers me. The last thing they should be doing is pointing out her character. That's bad marketing, okay? And in my opinion, it doesn't, even if the show is good, it doesn't bode well. again, the show will probably be a great Indiana Jones movie. I haven't seen a trailer. I haven't, seen any, scenes from it. I'm not going to pretend I know what's going to happen just from straight rumors. But I do know that Harrison Ford would never allow to have happen to Indy what Doomcock and the rest of everybody else has been saying. It just doesn't. Okay, so he did. Okay. All right. But it bothers me because it's not good marketing. And the reason is fans don't like her. I mean, she's very much a British left wing, entitled, elitist female who sticks her nose up at everybody. Okay? And, she's like, I think everything I've ever heard of her is that she's woke and she's a, fourth wave feminist. And it's like, fuck, get these people out of here. Where are all, I mean, and she's not attractive. She looks like a duck. She's duck face. We shall call Phoebe Waller-Bridge duck face. Okay. I mean, what are you talking about? What are you talking about? Because I'm on to Indy 5 now. And James Mangold isn't even acknowledging the leaks anymore. Okay. And again, it's not that the movie's going to be bad or we're going to end up with Indiana Jones. It's the fact that this woman is in it for a reason. Kathleen Kennedy's Avatar, or she was supposed to be anyway. And that Kathleen Kennedy is still part of it. And look, I told Culture Casino in his member stream, this movie should have come out 4 or 5 years ago. But they were writing it by committee, and I think the person that was dead set against what they were doing was Harrison Ford. And then I think Spielberg said, I've had a fucking enough. Okay? And he went and left. He's still an executive producer. And they got James Mangold. Now, James Mangold has been maligned by YouTubers because of the tiff he had with that Matt Kadish. And I'm not impressed with Kadish at all. I think the guy is not honest. He's not who he says he is. It's Indy 5 is coming out. They have it's coming out. And the way Spielberg talked about it, he said he loved it. Okay, he said he loved it. So it's coming out. I think people who don't think it is have really got to take a good hard look at themselves because it's happening. You do not waste the money on John Williams and then have it come out on streaming. Okay. My problem again is the marketing. It's casting Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Okay. Oh no, it's not. Look, if the acolyte will never see the light of day. I agree with you, Mike. And and honestly, I think there's a group of people connected to the Lucasfilm Story Group and the people that hate us that put it out there every once in a while just to piss us off. Okay. It's got a star. We still haven't seen anybody else cast in it, even though Amanda Stenberg, they're building a cast around me. Her? Who the fuck is she anyway, by the way? The first time I ever heard of her was this. Okay. But back to Indy 5. I think the problem with Indy 5 is the lead up to filming, Ford getting hurt, But I have said this in a lot of different places. If he was hurt so bad, he wouldn't have been riding his bicycle a week or two after he got hurt. All right. Okay. This is not an injury that you just slough off. Okay. So, I think Ford slow rolled it. I really do. I think he basically knew what Kennedy wanted to do, didn't want it, was adamant against it. So what he did is he just basically stopped filming. They had to stop filming. They had to film around him, and then they got back to filming, and the script was changed again. When Doomcock got that latest leaker, that latest rumor person, saying, I picked up the script, it was just laying there and I read it. I think that's the story. It's like, when these are the questions Doomy should have asked. When did you see the script? Because if it was this time, late summer, that isn't the script that they shot. Okay? Because, look, even with the tight script, there are rewrites. Okay? You know, and the idea that the script they walk into with, unless it's The Last Jedi, is the script they walk out of principal photography with is wrong. Not in today's world, okay? Unless it's The Last Jedi. So when I heard that, I'm like, now maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the guy really saw the script. But again, James Mangold, who's been maligned, who basically, I actually think in that argument between him and Kadish, she kicked Kadish's butt. All right. There are certain people out there that just should not start arguments with people in James Mangold's place, and that Kadish is one of them. Okay. We know that Mangold directed Logan. Logan was a good movie, but people were upset because, Wolverine dies. He also directed Ford versus Ferrari, and that I think was Academy Award nominated. That's a good movie. Okay. I actually bought that when it came out on demand. That is a great movie. Okay. And it was very, emotional. I mean, Carroll Shelby and the guy who drove the Ford at Le Mans, just great stuff. Okay, I think we're going to get something very similar, but for Indiana Jones, similar to Ford versus Ferrari. Okay, and it's heck, the first 20 minutes of Indiana Jones' Crystal Skull, I was laughing and crying and cheering. Why? That's Indiana Jones. Bunch of crazy shit going down. Okay? And when we got the Easter egg of the Ark of the Covenant, I started crying. All right? Because I was right back to being a teenager coming out of my seat. Okay? The thing is that we got to give, I trust James Mangold, I trust Harrison Ford, I don't trust Phoebe Waller-Bridge, and, I mean, Kathleen Kennedy is dead to me. Oh, well, yeah, and I think they reshot a lot of stuff already. There hasn't been any stories about reshoots, and I also think that, Cameron even said that Bob Chapek would not let Indiana Jones go what down the woke path. He can't afford it. Okay, they can't afford to let another franchise get the shit kicked out of it. Okay, you know, so in my only problem with it is marketing. I don't like Phoebe Waller-Bridge. I don't know any Indiana Jones fans who know who she is who do like her. I know one friend, he's British, and he said he met her. She's really nice, and I'm like, I'm sure she is, but I don't. I know I wouldn't get along with her. All right, I mean, there's a certain type of British elitist that bugs the hell out of me. Okay, and she's that type. And I'm going to say this, and I think Cameron and I think Michael agree that she is the avatar for Kathleen Kennedy. If you notice, every movie or everything that Kennedy puts out there has a British brunette who's from an entitled land. I mean, Daisy Ridley's was actually born of landed gentry, so she's part of the noble class. That's who Kathleen Kennedy thinks she is, or did. But the only person talking about it who was part of the creating this, Frank Marshall, basically put on Instagram the stuff that John Williams had out there. And I think I trust Steven Spielberg, okay? And the reason why I do is because Spielberg didn't want to make Crystal Skull, and when they did, high cross element, by the way, and when they did, I think he and George had a lot of going back and forth going on, okay? Because I don't think Spielberg was all about the aliens, all right? And really, I think Indiana Jones and the Crystal Skull is a fine movie, but and not that it jumped the shark, but Indy was kind of out of his element about what was going on here. Now, there obviously, because of costumes that people have seen and behind the scenes photographs that have come out, there's going to be some sort of time travel, all right? And I mean, you got guys running around in Roman stuff, and what looks like to be also Greek hoplite armor, and they filmed in Sicily. And this thing that really makes me, I would like to ask WDW Pro why he had to use a behind the scenes photograph of Waller-Bridge, Harrison Ford, and Harrison's got a parachute harness on. This is taken in Sicily. And, talking about Indy dying. Because, look, a photograph can say a lot of things, but that photograph, because Ford looks dazed, like he's supposed to in this scene, because it looks like they landed hard. And, why use that? Okay, because if you go further, in that shoot, they were in North Africa, being chased through Morocco, town in Morocco. They came back to Sicily and were filming with Antonio Banderas on a boat. Okay, so I don't think that photo has anything to do with Indy dying. All right. In fact, what was interesting is I know something somebody said, and basically there's a scene in like a hospital room or something. All right. And, or an old folks home or something like that, where a bunch of people are gathered around. I'm not gonna say who told me that or where he got this, but if we get that, the fedora goes with Indy. I mean, look, I know for a fact because the same person told me Harrison Ford will never let that happen. There will no be passing there will be no passing of the fedora. I mean, you guys remember at the end of Crystal Skull, he's walking out with Marion and the hat blows off. He picks it up, puts it back on. Okay? Never gonna happen with Indy. Never. But again, my problem is marketing and the fact that there are people out there that are framing a narrative. This is gonna be bad. How do you know? The rumors. All right? And that's the thing. I mean, there's a disrespect for Harrison Ford going on here that I find really kind of shitty. But anyway, back to the leakers. Do I think Disney's cracking down? If they are, that's good. The one leaker they really need to go after is probably Jason Ward. And that's good. That's the way you should be, Pete. I think you should. I think they've got to come up with a better way to market this and keep Kathy Kennedy as far away from the public on this as possible. I really mean that. Anyway, I gotta go because my husband just messaged me and I gotta go up and get ready for church. Anyway, y'all have a good afternoon. I thought I'd just jump in. Keep your eyes open. If they're cracking down on all leakers, good. If they're cracking down on some, that means the people who've been leaking stuff are working on particular projects. All right, which is a big deal. Okay? And then we'll know who they are. All right, and like I said, let's go through the timeline real quick before I go. Peter Rice gets fired. Kenobi numbers come in. And obviously, Peter Rice being fired is the signal for the public Bob Chapek is staying. Right? Kathy Kennedy knew that. 27th of June, her husband posts a picture from Portugal. He's drinking port. And I was like, is she with him? Because he barely ever takes pictures of her. All right? But I'm like, let's assume they're together. Make it back until like the 5th or 6th of August. I counted all the days they were gone. That's 40 days. That's a long ass fucking trip. Okay. And her behavior at Star Wars Celebration was, I'm not part of this anymore. And in fact, when Harrison Ford is out there, and they were cordial, I'll give that. But she stood off far away from everything. Okay? Because I think, hopefully, that Beyond Phoebe Waller-Bridge, they're going to market it as his movie. Okay? That's the only way it works. And hopefully, James Mangold actually talked to George Lucas about it too. I mean, since he created Indiana Jones and he's an executive producer. Okay, anyway, I gotta go. You guys be good, behave. Have a good rest of Labor Day weekend. I'll probably be back here again, maybe tomorrow. But anyway, I gotta talk about bookshelves from my office with my husband. See y'all around the galaxy.